Welcome to the Friday Night Chit Chat, a podcast where we drink beers and talk and chit chat about random topics. Cool. Today I'll be your host, Nick, the Dungeon Master, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Dan, the Heartthrob,
Hello, everybody.
and Nico, the Movie Master.
I'm your Huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry indeed. What's going on, everyone?
All right. Before we get into today's awesome topic, let's go see what Dan's drinking. Dan?
I'm having an Indio Cerveza today. It's Mexican beer.
Ooh. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. That's a good one.
No, you're good. It's my
Never
first
heard
time
of it.
trying it. Yeah.
All right. Nico, what are you having?
Well, I'm gonna keep it Mexican with you there, buddy. I got a Modelo.
Oh.
Good old Mandela.
All right. And I am drinking Revolution Freedom of Lemonade. It's a sour beer by Revolution. Revolution Brewery was actually opened up in 2010, I believe. They started operations in 2008 in Chicago. Opened their doors in 2010, and I actually Revolution in Logan Square is where I got married. So, though I don't drink their beer all the time, when I do, it's like near and dear to my heart because we spent quite a while there. Went there a few times beforehand and afterwards. We haven't been there. It's actually sad. Logan Square closed, so the only one that's left is the actual brewery on Kenzie Avenue. But yeah, little. And actually, Revolution they are distributing to multiple states now. I think when we got married there, it was only us and maybe Wisconsin. I don't remember, but they're in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Ohio, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nashville, New Jersey, New York City, specifically New York City, not the state of New York, and Wisconsin. In 2017, which is the year after we got married, Revolution became the 40th largest craft brewery and the 50th largest overall in the country. Kind of cool.
That's pretty cool.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to tighten your tinfoil hats because today we are talking about conspiracy theories. Oh, that took me a little bit by surprise. I wasn't sure what was going on there.
I was wrapping up my tinfoil hat.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm going to leave mine off just because, I don't know. I don't like the tinfoil hat. I'm a true believer. I believe all these conspiracy theories are real. I'm kidding. I definitely don't. Which, it's a conspiracy theory for a reason. But I do, me being me, like when I learn about a conspiracy theory or something interesting like that, I like to do deep dives. I like to like learn everything I can about that specific theory and stay up late on my vacations doing stupid research, trying to convince myself one way or another. So I figured it'd be a fun topic to talk about on the podcast. So here we are. I'll start out with one that's easy and I guess easy or well known, but chemtrails. What do you boys think about chemtrails?
Ooh. That's a good one.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is one that I always hear from people, and I mean, honestly, I've been seeing them ever since I was a kid. Ever since I was little, and I always wondered what they were, and I was like, almost every time I saw a plane, I would see one, and as something in my head was always just thinking that they were purposely putting something out in the air for us to I don't know if it was for us to see or what the deal was, but it was something that was always in the back of my head even as a youngster. So
well, naturally planes do put out contrails, which is the condensation from I believe it's I'm not a scientist. I don't remember what an actual contrail is, but it's like air vapor. It's water vapor.
Right.
I think
Like food cabin stuff, right?
Yeah. But the the theory is that they're well. Dan, what do you think about it before I go into that?
I don't know. I don't have a point of view on it. Like, I can honestly see it from both sides. Like, I could understand like the scientific part of it where they say it's just condensation, but I think I just feel like maybe there's more to that, because when they go up, they stay up there for a while, and like it doesn't dissipate right away. So I'm like, I don't really know where I stand on that yet.
I think a lot of it has to do with temperature, but yes, the theory is that they're loading some of these planes up with chemicals and they're spraying it over. I think it ranges to like weather. It ranges from weather control to mind control to like keeping the air polluted. So for whatever reason, but yeah, there's a lot of like theories on what chemtrails are and like why they do it. After like, oh my gosh, excuse me. After doing a little bit of like research or air quotes research, I honestly think that there's no such thing as chemtrails. I think that like the contrails that the planes make, the size and what is it called, the dissipation of it, all depends on like the temperature and the type of plane and stuff like that. Because obviously bigger planes, bigger contrails. And that one, the chemtrails is just hard for me to believe that. I mean, at least some of the theories that are put out there, right? At least like I don't feel like I'm being mind controlled by anything after a plane flies over, or that they're polluting the air via airplane. So, I mean, especially if we're talking passenger planes, like you'd have like someone would obviously see that, right? Maybe not. Maybe the government's so good at concealing everything that they wouldn't see something that like that. But but yeah, I don't know, that one. I like that one because it's like a nice segue into like all the stuff that like goes deeper. In my opinion, I think that's like a good starting point for like starting to chit chat about.
You said the thing.
Oh, I did. Oh, I said the thing. But yeah, what is Nico? What are like I don't know. What's your I don't want to say favorite conspiracy theory, but what's one that like you were like,
one that still bugs me to this day, and I mean it's been quote unquote debunked online numerous times, but like you guys have heard of the Mandela Effect, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of theories on that. I'm glad you touched on that. So yes, let's go segue into that. That's perfect.
Man, like so, and so like, all right. So for those who don't know, the Mandela Effect is a conspiracy theory where, and it all mostly started on the internet, but it's basically the idea is that people who are of a certain age, typically between, I think it's the ages of like 28 to about 38, if not like 40, 42 maybe. It's basically people who were born within a certain time period. They remember things specifically from like the late 80s, early 90s in media or in, just certain, either whether it's certain brands or certain like titles of books or certain events that happened, that they remember it one way. There's like a large group of people who remember it one way, but then there's other groups of people who remember things happening differently. And its namesake is for that of Nelson Mandela. Now, there's Nelson Mandela was a he was a president from is it South Africa, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that, yeah.
At one point, basically he was a civil rights basically a civil rights engineer, civil rights activist during apartheid in South Africa. And basically, at one point, he was incarcerated, and then there's a large group of the population that, and like to our knowledge and from what it's like what the information actually is that he actually died not super long ago. I think it was God,
I got you.
right here. Thought it was like 2006, if I'm not mistaken.
2013.
2013. I knew it was a little bit sooner than that. Anywho, so that he died in 2013. It was mostly of like old age. Then the complications that come with being older and stuff like that, right? But the conspiracy is that there were stories from back in the late 80s, early 90s that he died in prison. So that would mean that he never became the president of South Africa. He never, even though the reason why he was incarcerated was for protesting, apartheid and protesting for civil rights and stuff like that. So that was the reason why he was incarcerated. And the story or the idea is that he died in prison and thus never became president of South Africa, and then also thus he didn't die in 2013. But there's a large group of people who believe that he died in prison. Now, the sources to why that is, I don't know, but I do remember, I do remember hearing that from somewhere, that he died in prison. But at the same time, I do also remember him dying in 2013 because, there was a big, huge thing in the media about him passing on. So much so that they held memorial services on TV for him and everything. So that much I do remember, but I do also remember it the other way, where I remember hearing, that he died in prison. Now, that's where the namesake comes from. But the various other like Mandela effects, once you start hearing one thing, you kind of go into the rabbit hole of like what other things there are, such as something so simple as like whether is it the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstain Bears, like that book series. I kind of remember it being Berenstain Bears. A lot of people say, "Oh no, it's always been Berenstain." Part of me being practical thinks like, oh, they probably changed it sometime over time and just kind of quietly did it without anybody really realizing or knowing. But that's also, it's kind of the thing that like brands do, which is like, over time they changed how their logos look, or just things to that nature. I'm trying to think of what some of my favorite, even like there's like little things. So like one is so for those Pokemon fans out there, Pikachu's tail. This is another thing where it's just like, okay, this could be something that like the animators or the people who drew it or whatever, at one time he had a black tip tail, or Pikachu had a black tip tail, but a lot of people say he never had a black tip tail. It could be something as simple as like, hey, the animation looks a certain way in one frame, and so therefore it looked like he had a black tip tail, but he never had one. Whereas, there'd be a large group of people who will be like, no, he always had a black tip tail, or no, he never had a black tip tail, or whatever. Who knows? That sort of thing.
But we know he never did, right? Like, you do know that he never had a black tip tail.
I don't know. I have no idea. I may remember seeing him with a black tip tail at one point. In fact, I want to say that back in the day, so my older sister, I remember her making me ceramic. It's not a statue, but it's like a wall wall plaque. She made me like a ceramic wall plaque of Pikachu, and when she painted a black tip on the tail. So me personally, maybe that's why I remember seeing it that way. But like, I can't be the only one.
Dan, you want to add to the Mandela Effect?
Yeah, I was gonna say for Pokemon, I didn't watch Pokemon at all. I think, other than like for a couple minutes if I was at my cousin's house or something, because they were big Pokemon fans. But from what I do remember, I thought he did have a black tip tail, because I thought his ears and his tail had black tips. I know his ears do, but yeah. And then,
I don't ever remember the black tip. Continue.
yeah. And then I think some of the other Mandela effects that kind of intrigued me. I think the biggest one that like had me thinking for the longest, and I did a lot of like research on, was the Fruit of the Loom logo.
That's everyone's favorite.
Oh my
Dude,
God,
I swear I remember having shirts with the
With the
cornucopia on
right?
it. And then they come out and say that it never had a cornucopia. And there's literally, I've seen pictures online, and then people are saying, "Oh no, they're knockoffs, this, that." I'm like, dude, I seen it with my own eyes. And then I know Star Wars has a couple of them. With Darth Vader, where he says, "Luke, I am your father." That's not what he says.
Correct.
Apparently, he said, "No, I am your father." And then for C-3PO, one of his legs is silver, which I don't remember at all. I thought it was all gold, but apparently,
See, like stuff like
one of his
that.
legs is silver. For some reason.
That is true. See, the thing with that, I could say that stuff like that, it could be due to the fact that the poor video quality of the time. And even if you look at it now, it is a very subtle difference between the really bright gold and then the like.
Yeah, it's like a really
like
light
silver.
washed gold. So
You could kind of right, exactly. You could kind of play that off as like, yeah, okay, I could kind of see that, sure. It kind of semi off topic a little bit, but a really funny thing about that is when they made The Force Awakens, the newer Star Wars movie, they gave him a red arm to fuck with people who were saying stuff like that. But anywho, I digress. But yeah, dude. So like some of the things, like I said, some of the things in the Mandela Effect are like plausible. Like, okay, yeah, I can understand that, and the part of the explanation behind it that people, or that quote unquote experts have come out and said, is just that people use things like parody and poor memory to kind of fill in memories, and so they instantly start to think that because that's the way they remember it, that's correct, when in reality it wasn't always that way. You can understand that for some things to a certain degree, but to things like big things like the actual like Mandela dying in prison versus him dying in 2013, like how can a large group of people mistake something like that, and like, so the overall sort of like explanation that people came up with as to why this happened was that I have to look it up exactly just so I have the words correct, but I know that it has something to do with the discovery of the Higgs boson, and like when they turned on the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, that it created a parallel universe, and so
there's the conspiracy theory right there.
Right, there's the conspiracy where our universes kind of got crossed. So there are some people from that alternate universe that remember things happening one way, and because they happen differently in this universe, they don't realize that, like, hey, that's how it happened in my universe.
Yep. So we'll touch on the Mandela Effect a little bit more here, just because I like to have a little bit of fun with these. But an easy one. You guys, don't look any of this up. Close your browsers if you have anything open. But on the package of Oreos, double stuff. How is it spelled?
STUFF.
UFT. STUFT.
STUF. There's no double F.
Huh?
There's no double F.
I know.
There is
I know
no
that
double F.
I know that it's no double F. I know that it's one F, but I always thought it was. I always thought it had a T at the
Double
end.
stuffed. Nope, it's not. It's just double stuff. STUF.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
How about Cheez-It? Is it Cheez-Its or Cheez-It? Is there a Z?
It's a Z.
There is no Z.
Oh my gosh. I'm from a parallel
There's
universe.
no Z. There is no Z. How about the Monopoly Man? Monocle or no monocle?
Monocle.
Monocle.
No monocle. He does not have a monocle.
Yeah, see, stuff like that is those are the ones that bother me most because I really remember it like that, and so many people do too. And then it's just like, oh no, he's never had a monocle.
Here's a really, really good one for you guys. What color is chartreuse?
Chartreuse? Isn't it
Yep.
like a? Isn't it a red color?
You know, Dan?
Like red or dark brown.
It's green.
What?
Chartreuse is green.
What the fuck?
Most people, when they hear chartreuse, they think of pink, but it's actually
Pink,
green. Yep. All right, last one. Mr. Rogers. Did you guys watch Mr. Rogers when you were
Yep.
little? What was
Yes.
the famous saying?
It's a good day in the neighborhood.
It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
It's a beautiful
this-
day in this neighborhood. Yes.
Oh,
So
I think that's the one where I remember hearing it and I was like,
duh.
this is both.
yeah,
It's a beautiful
There's
day
a
in the
both.
neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood.
it's definitely this. All right, actually, I'll do this the last one. The famous bear that says only you can prevent forest fires. What's his name?
Smokey the Bear.
What's his full name, Nico?
I thought it was Smokey the Bear. Yeah.
It is not. His name is just Smokey Bear.
Huh?
There is no the. There is never a the. But going back to the conspiracy theory part of this, yes, the conspiracy theory is that like the timelines have merged, or the Earth had like got sucked into a black hole and got spit out in another like timeline, and that's why some of these things are like Mandela effects happen. Because like there was another good one, pizza rolls. Are they Totino's or Tostino's pizza rolls?
Totino's.
Yeah, they're Totino's.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who thought there was an S in there. It's like Tostino's, and it's not. It's always been Totino's, but whatever. Anyway, yeah,
That's
so,
why
like,
I think of Tostitos.
yeah, that's probably.
Right.
But-
Tostones.
But yeah, so like that's a lot where a lot of this stuff, like this happens, and the thing is, you can't trust the internet anymore, right? Because even if somebody uploads something to the internet, the editing software that's available today is so good that you can make copy the font of the Berenstein Bears, change the letter, and be like, oh look, there's it looks like this now, or remove the cornucopia with Photoshop, or a program like that, and then you can upload anything you want to the internet, and if it catches on to some people, it like gets a snowball effect, right? So
Right.
you can't always trust the internet when it comes to some of these things. And I will say I do remember the Monopoly Man with a monocle at one point or another, and I have a really old version of Monopoly that I would like to dig out of my basement and check the card, but that requires me to actually do that, and I have not done that yet. But that's one of the ones and I think Ashley and I were watching a video once, and it was involved music, there's music Mandela effects, and most of them pertain to music like Ashley liked, and I'm pretty sure she got 90% of it wrong because she remembered it being sung, quoted, or anything one way, and then when you actually listen to the song, it's not what it was. So
And it probably sounds really different too than what you remembered, right?
yes, yeah, absolutely, it does.
Yeah. I think I've ran into a couple of those, and then you're just like, what?
Yes, like what is going on? All right, that was a good one. I was wondering when that was going to pop up, but so Dan, how about you? What is one of your like? I know we had a little tiny time to talk before the podcast started, but which one is like one that you like? Did any research on or like that?
I think one that I like really interested me was like I started listening to like a pod because I listen to like a lot of true crime podcasts.
Me
And
too, dude.
then one of the one of the episodes that had come on was about somebody who committed a crime, and they were claiming that they were a targeted individual. So I did a little bit of a deep dive into that, and so it's like kind of like gang stalking. People who think they're victims of gang stalking from like the CIA, FBI, or like any agencies like that, like they feel like everybody around them is like a secret agent or somebody undercover, like just pretty much spying on them, following them everywhere, and then they start like hallucinating a lot of stuff, and they think that they're getting like sounds and voices transmitted into their heads, and it's like a really big group online too, and it's like they kind of feel like they feed into each other's like ideas, and it's just like it seems to be like there's a huge amount of like the population that is affected by this. And I think the conspiracy theory is that they are targeted by what was it, I think it was called like Project Pandora or something from the was it, I don't know if it was a DARPA research, and it goes back to like microwave waves and stuff like that, and I think it kind of falls back into like MK Ultra with like the mind control and shit like that, which is another. I think from this conspiracy theory, I kind of fell into the MK Ultra stuff too. So that's one that like really interested me, just because there's like a huge amount of people who believe that they're targeted individuals, and it's like a really big community online.
I spent hours with MK Ultra, Dan. Ow.
This is some crazy shit, man.
Yeah. That's MK Ultra is a great one. Nico, you know about MK Ultra?
I do, and actually, I don't know how much of a conspiracy theory it is because I feel like hasn't it been confirmed not too long ago?
There's a lot of declassified stuff on it. So.
Right, yeah. Plus, there's been like plenty of books that's been written about it now. But yeah, the fact that basically, so MK Ultra that's where there were CIA agents. It was a Jack Ruby specifically that would go in and basically they would dose up certain inmates with like LSD, if I'm not mistaken. Like more specifically, I think this happened to Charles Manson quite a bit, and then basically like brainwashed them and like mentally suggested to them to do certain things, and that's how like Charles Manson basically created a cult, and then eventually they went and killed Sharon Tate. But it was supposed to be for like other things as well, if I'm not mistaken. Like basically to like take out certain high profile targets and shit to that nature, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right about that?
Was that MK Ultra? Or was that the sleeper? What was the other one? I thought there was another conspiracy theory where like they like planted certain things in like people's heads and they would wake them up as like sleeper agents. I thought that was I didn't think that was MK Ultra.
Yeah, I think that's something else.
Is that what
Maybe
you're
it
talking
is.
about?
Maybe I might be conflating the two.
Well, because I thought like what had started coming about MK Ultra was that the government wanted to see like what LSD did to the general public, so they like were laced, like they were like feeding it to them or lacing them. But I think the one I don't remember what that one's called. I don't think it's that. I'm trying to like quickly read something here. But yeah, everything that MK Ultra like is referring to is just like lacing things with LSD. So
Right.
yeah.
Hold on. Let's see.
I spent so much time in this and I can't remember any of this.
It could be used during
Yeah, 'cause I think it did happen, but I think like the part of the conspiracy is that people believe it's still happening today.
Yeah. 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 The LSD was supposed to brainwash them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Was that part of the truth serum stuff as well, or was it something else?
Ooh, I don't know about that one.
Because I think there was similar to that. The CIA was dosing people with I think different drugs to try and see if they can create like a truth serum. I'm trying to remember what that was.
I do, and you're saying that I do remember something. Now that you're saying that, I do remember something like that, but I don't remember what that was. Yeah. So this is So the MK Ultra is about brainwashing the military GIs.
Huh.
Yeah. So besides that, is there anything else you wanted to add to that one, Dan?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. So there's one that happened like within the last couple of years that like ramped up in popularity, and then all of a sudden it like disappeared. So I'm not even sure either of you guys caught this, but like I spent a couple hours like researching things online about this one. But a couple of years ago, when like the unfortunate like thing of child trafficking went like kind of like
Oh man. Okay. Yeah.
blown out of the water.
Uh-huh.
Not blown out of the water, but was kind of it's coming to the it was in the news a lot. And someone pointed out that Wayfair was selling dressers.
Dude, I believed this for a bit.
You know what? I almost did too. Like, so they were selling dressers and like furniture with like children's names for an insane amount of money. Like it was. I can't remember the pricing that I saw, but they were
thousands of dollars.
Tens of thousands.
Yes,
Yeah.
tens of thousands of dollars. And it was just weird that the names were children's names. So a lot of people like
name of children that were missing.
Yeah. Yes, names of children that were missing. That was the biggest part of it. I actually sent that to Ashley, and I was like, well, I'm gonna be looking into this for a little bit because this is interesting. But yeah, I was like, I spent a couple days doing a little bit of like as much as you can, like on Reddit and whatever the internet will allow you to tell. But like a lot of people did believe that that was a thing. So Nico, even if you said that you believed it for a little bit, a lot of people believed it too. So I believed it for a while, but then it just disappeared. Like everyone stopped talking about it.
Well, that's
so.
Not to tighten my tinfoil hat even tighter here, but it seems to be the consensus on a lot of things, especially more modern conspiracy theories now, is that people will go whole hog into these sort of spirals and start seeing patterns and like be putting them up, for people to see, and then just via the news cycle, it'll be in people's consciousness for a little while, and then suddenly it's just like, if you guys could hear that snap, but it'll just be like gone. it'll just be gone out of like not even out of people's minds, but like all of a sudden nobody's talking about it anymore. But normally it's because it's like it's on to the next thing. What's the next big thing that's in the news now? And like what is it that people are arguing over, or what is the next conspiracy that people are talking about now? And so the news cycle, the media cycle has been like running things very quickly.
True. So to expand, sorry,
I was gonna say, and that in itself is kind of a conspiracy.
True. Yeah, it is. To expand on that, I actually found the article from 2020 that I was reading. So there are storage cabinets on Wayfair's website, and some of them are identical, like in weight, height, depth, all of that. There's two different prices, and they're named like Melody and Stephanie. One of them is $16,099.99, and it's just a regular old storage cabinet that you can find at probably IKEA for 90% of the cost. And the other one is selling for $12,899. And then there's one that's a little bit bigger that's selling for $23,499.99. And it's just nuts that like the pricing on these cabinets and the names that they gave them, it's almost very super suspicious.
It's super suspicious because who's paying that much money for a cabinet, and why is it such a massive price difference?
That was I think the thing that like that drew people to it was that there were the same models and different prices with different names. How is that possible? There's also a pillow. There was also a pillow that they were selling for $9,999. A pillow.
Wow.
Yeah. And the name of the sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was saying the name of the pillow was Duplices, and I believe that it was it shared. Hold on, it's coming to me. It was that was the last name of a 13-year-old girl that went missing in Michigan, I believe.
And that's not a common name either. Like
no,
that's so weird.
And then so there was another thing to this too. Next to the name, isn't there like a grouping of numbers or something?
Yes,
am I remembering it correctly? Isn't that supposed to connect to? Doesn't it supposedly connect to, like, if it was it birth dates or was it dates that they went missing or something along those lines?
Yes, yeah,
it's one of the two. I'm not sure which one.
So that was one. That's where I started. That's where I felt it started getting weird because, I mean, that would be way too like that.
That's super obvious.
Yeah, obvious. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Obvious. I don't like. That's when I started realizing that this probably isn't a thing. But yeah, there's numbers next to every cabinet that Naraya. Storage cabinet, 14,000. Oh no, there's no grouping in numbers there. Maybe if you went in to buy it, there's a grouping in numbers.
I think that's what it was. Because there was like the serial number on it was like some weird number, and at the end of this though, it started to seem like okay, maybe somebody caught wind of this like quote unquote conspiracy. And like decided to like play a joke and hack their website and did some shit like that.
Yeah,
I don't
always
know.
a possibility. Yeah,
right, exactly, always a possibility. And like in this day and age, you kind of never can know.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. Yep. So, I'm actually gonna throw another one out there if you don't mind. The whole birds aren't real conspiracy theory. What do you guys know about that one?
Pigeons aren't real.
I've heard that. I don't know much about it other than I've heard it like said before, like birds aren't real. But I don't know much more beyond that.
Okay, so
like, what's the deal with that?
a lot of people say that this actually started out as a joke. That birds aren't real. It was kind of poking fun at conspiracy theories. However, somewhere in the mix of it being a joke, it actually became one of the most widely supported conspiracy theories. And the entire idea is that all of the birds were replaced by the government between 1959 and 1971. And they're replaced. Now, mind you, drones were newer to us in back in 2010-ish area.
Yeah.
But the conspiracy theory is that all of the birds that we see that fly around and stuff like that are actually government drones with cameras. This also connects into JFK's murder, because there is something on I don't know if it was the Birds Aren't Real website or something, but it was the theory is that he was assassinated because he wouldn't sign over the rights to kill all the birds to replace them with drones. So, I mean, first of all, let's think about how effed up all that is, right? You're talking about every single bird across America is a government drone. That's a lot of money to be spying on their people. And if that was true, why are they setting up all these cameras everywhere else? I mean, the Big Brother conspiracy theory, I would say, directly kills this entire conspiracy theory. Would it not?
That's true.
Because, yeah, why would they need all these drones and cameras and stuff like that if they're just going to be putting up cameras on every street corner?
I think that one too, that tied into it a little bit of the targeted individual stuff, because I think one of the things that I had read is some of them think when a bird shits on your car, it's the government putting a chip on your car or putting something to track your car. Some shit like that.
Yeah, but
Wow.
they already can though. So
yeah, I think there's other shit that cancels it out. Why would they spend so? Especially in when did it start, in the 70s?
The Birds Aren't Real.
Yeah,
it started in Chicago No, I'm sorry. Yes, in the 70s. They say that all the birds were killed between 59 and 71.
You know how big a cell phone was in 1971?
Right, yeah.
You know how big a camera was in 1971?
Exactly.
There's no way they had the fucking technology to be doing that, especially back then.
I agree with that. So I think this is another one. Actually, walking into work in some of my accounts, there are stickers that have Birds Aren't Real plastered all over the place. So this one, I always get reminded about this one because while I'm at work, I'm just like, oh, right. That's really funny. But yeah, I mean, I believe this all started in Chicago in 70 something. So, no, I'm sorry. It started in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh.
Yeah, it started in Tennessee. So, but I always thought that one was this one was interesting, that people will actually believe that the government, and I think some I don't remember the exact event, but there was a point where birds were being found they were found dead on beach fronts and forest preserves. There was a massive amount of birds that were dying. And the first thing that they think of is, oh, the government's killing them to put cameras in the sky. Not that there could be a bird flu or something like that, which exists now, right? I mean, we all know the bird flu is hitting us because egg prices are through the roof. But back then, nope, it was the government putting cameras in the sky. So, but yeah, I thought that one, that's one that always kind of makes me laugh because it's one of the more ridiculous ones. But all right, I'll stop talking for a little bit. Nico, what else you got for us?
Oh, what to go with here? I don't know if if I want to be the one to bring that up, just because I'm not as well versed on it. But I was gonna say the JFK assassination. That's a tough one. It's a tough one for me just because I don't know much about it, but I'm constantly hearing different stories about why he was assassinated or how he was assassinated. Whether that's they say that it was two shooters, or that one of his security detail was the one who did this, the second shot, or whether it was an accident or not, and like just in general, like that whether it was the CIA that assassinated him, or if it was the mafia, or like who, like could have been KGB, could have been someone from Cuba. Like there's so many, like there's so much that surrounds it, and so much, like so many conspiracies that sort of tie into it and that stem from it, I should say. That like again, I don't know as nearly as much about this as like even some of my friends do. One friend in particular comes to mind because he was a big, I don't want to say proponent of it, but I mean he reads so much about this, whether they're fiction books or like again, conspiracy theory books, or whatever the case may be. Like he is much more well versed in it than I am, but just the idea of it being a huge conspiracy, that it happened, that he was killed, but then also it also breeds many more conspiracies, things that stem from it.
Yeah, there's so many theories surrounding that.
You got any insight or input, Dan?
No, just some of the theories that kind of popped out to me from what I have seen on it is there was one, I think it ties into them saying the CIA planned it because there's somebody like with an umbrella there.
The umbrella man, yep.
Yeah, and it wasn't raining or anything, and supposedly he had like a, what was it, like a tranquilizer shot or something? It was like a gun that shot a tranquilizer shot, and then they came out and said that like a CIA weapons developer came out and had said that they did have a weapon similar to that at the CIA in the 60s. So that was something that kind of stood out to me about that. And then the mafia part of it, where they're saying Jimmy Hoffa had ordered the hit on JFK. But yeah, I mean, there's so many theories surrounding that whole thing.
I think the craziest thing about the JFK assassination is that there's I guess I'm going to tell a little bit of a story to go into what I'm about to say. But I as you said, Dan, I listen to true crime podcasts, and there's actually an update on one of the true crime podcasts I listened to, and they solved a murder from before Kennedy was assassinated. A couple of years ago, they solved this murder, and it happened like way back when. And I'm telling you that because there is a lot of information about JFK out there, right? That there's videos, there's analyses, and I remember when I lived in my Carroll Stream house, and my dad had books and movies and printed out like internet articles to read, newspaper clippings, like, and it's just fascinating that today in 2025 we can solve a murder. Back, I think it was solved they solved it in 2021, but the murder took place in like 1930 something or 40 something, and they solved that murder, and it just blows my mind. all this DNA evidence, all this stuff, all like this new stuff that they can do now. They solve a murder in 2021 that happened before Kennedy got assassinated, and we can't figure this out. Now, it's a strange story all around, right? Like the Umbrella Man is one, like you said, the Umbrella Man is one thing that that comes up. The fact that Oswald got shot, what was it, days after when he was going to jail, he got shot so he couldn't talk anymore, right? Was it 2 days after or 3 days after he
He got killed by Jack Ruby, wasn't it?
Yeah, Jack Ruby killed him, but I can't remember. It was very quickly after the Kennedy assassination. It was like 2 or 3 days. Like he
It was two
going
days after that he got killed.
2 days, right? So 2 days after that, and this man gets shot by Jack Ruby was a nightclub owner or something like that,
Yeah.
right? So there's I mean, I understand that emotions were high because Kennedy was a decent president, but like this guy 2 days later just shows up with a bunch of police around and shoots Oswald. Like that's suspicious. I mean, it's not that it's like unheard of because that has happened multiple times, I believe, in our history, but still, that's really weird. But I think another thing too that about the case is they refer to it as the magic bullet, because there has been so many analogies on that bullet and how it bounced or moved or twisted or turned and somehow hit him here, and it's fascinating watching and listening and reading everything about the Kennedy assassination. It's it's blows my mind. Yeah. Was it because I think that there's still debate about I can't remember, Dan, if you could maybe help me out that when they refer to the grassy knoll shooter, are they even referring to the Umbrella Man, or those were two separate theories, right?
I think they're two separate theories.
So you got the theory of Oswald, you got the theory of another shooter on the grassy knoll, then you add in the Umbrella Man.
And then there was another one, I think, was it the old lady or something?
Yes, in the car or whatever.
Yeah.
That she turned and actually shot at him, because in one of the videos, if you slow it down, like I remember this, they're analyzing something in her hand, and like, oh, if you look at it this way, it actually looks like a handgun, and she shot him close range, and that's the only way that this could have happened. And Oswald was a distraction. The other thing too, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it that Oswald got past security somehow too? Like there was security up in the library, and somehow he got past them and was able to set up his gun and stuff like that. So it's a fascinating, like everything that like Nico said, everything that comes with it is just a box of theories, right? Some of them conspiracy theories, some of them real theories or whatever. But that's one of the that's another good one to really talk about. That you can really talk about a lot. But yeah, any more insight on that one, Nico?
I literally just heard something the other day where people were talking about it, and it's the one where I was just saying how supposedly one of his guards was the one who did the second shot from within the limousine. And it was something that had something to do with the design of the limousine, because of where Kennedy was seated, where his Secret Service was seated, and that after the first shot, I can't remember if it was something like that the limo like hit something, and then so the Secret Service agent like fell back and like accidentally shot. Was it in the chest? They accidentally shot him in the chest or something like that. But the conspiracy, the other part of the conspiracy is that the reason why why they didn't come out and say that the other shot came from within the limousine, or that it came from the Secret Service agent, was because they were saying that the Secret Service at that time was still in its infancy, and they didn't want to make the public or even future presidents distrust having Secret Service. So they just kind of put it to bed because they wanted Secret Service to work out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that one was new to me. I was like, what? like something that came from an accident, regardless of if it happened or not, like if it was something that happened on accident, that they fucking covered it up because they wanted another agency to work out, to be above suspicion or whatever like that, in order to continue to have someone protecting the president. Like
That's pretty crazy.
Insane. Yeah, that's pretty. It's pretty interesting. Wow. But yeah, no, that's all. Like I said, I don't know much about the JFK assassination, but I know plenty of people who do, who've read up a lot about it, and I know that it's the further you spiral down into it, the more you start finding out. And as a friend of mine likes to say, the more you know, the more you don't know. Like the more you end up finding out, the more you realize like how fucking little you do actually know. So like, yeah, and that seems to be like the mother of all freaking conspiracy theories.
Wow. All right, Dan, you got another one for us?
I think it's a little bit of a newer one. Have you guys heard of the dead internet theory?
No, I have not. Enlighten me.
So, dead internet theory, it's a conspiracy theory that says through coordinated and intentional effort, the internet is now mainly consisting of bot activities and AI-generated content. So, theoretically speaking, it claims that I forget what the number was, but I think like 70 or 80% of the internet is fake. So it's all bots, which I've seen a lot. Like there's so many bots online now, and then a lot of it is just like AI generated articles, which I believe, because I feel like every other article that I see or read, you can obviously tell it's AI generated. And it's used to, they're saying it's used to like manipulate the human population for whatever reason, or they'll displace like human content and describe it as a setup, and like it's a weird thing. But yeah, that's like a newer one that's come in with like all the new stuff that's been introduced with like Chat GPT, and I think after Twitter changed over to X, there was a lot of accounts that were being run by bots, and that was like a really big issue. And yeah, I think the theory ends up saying like eventually the internet's just going to be all bots. There's going to be no more humans on the internet.
See, to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, there's been now I'm going to preface this by saying that once in a while I listen to the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, which like Joe Rogan has people who really either really dig him or really hate him, and some people think that if you listen to the Joe Rogan Experience, maybe there's a little something, maybe you got a screw loose or whatever. I only listen to it for entertainment purposes, because there's a lot of times he has like comedians on there and they just shoot the shit and it's really funny. He has some people on there who are really interesting to talk to, scholars, authors, scientists, stuff like that. But then he also has people who are either conspiracy theorists or who are, quote unquote, trying to expose things in the government or whatever. Where was I going with this? Why did I bring that up? We were talking about so one of the things that he's talked about recently, or like he's been talking about for a while, is that that there are supposedly on social media, there are supposedly pages or accounts that are run by bots, and a lot of at least from what he's said, he's been told that some of those accounts are like Russian, not Russian spyware, but it's like Russian it's like bot farms from Russia that were created to try and create like unrest in like on social media. So they'll like create accounts to like basically be the anti to whatever your quote unquote ideals or your movements are, and like and it's all to like drum up freaking drama and stuff like that, and basically to split and divide the American people. And I don't know, it's I don't want to say I believe that, but I know that there are tons of accounts on social media that are all just AI generated things. And they literally just, I mean, honestly, Snapchat is probably like one of the worst offenders, because like,
oh yeah,
I can't tell you how many freaking quote unquote friend requests I get from random people. And then you know, like if you end up accepting it, it's like as soon as you accept it, you instantly get a message. And it's like, hey, where are you from? I'm in your area. We should meet up. What do you do? And then, you know, it's just like stupid shit like that. And it's just like, this isn't real. Like, this is not real. Delete, block, nope, no thank you. Like, and it's not just Snapchat. I know Facebook's a really bad offender of it. I can't speak for Twitter because I'm not on Twitter. I think Instagram's the same way. I mean, I never get any message requests. Well, sometimes, but Instagram seems to be pretty good at freaking weeding that stuff out. At least in terms of message requests. But I'll get like random notifications of like some person I've never heard of, or some person that doesn't even look like they're a real person. Just started following you, and it's just like, okay, this is weird. Don't like you click on the account, and it's just like no posts, and there's one freaking photo, but they're following X amount of people, and they have like 10 followers, and it's just like, okay, this is strange. So yeah, definitely a lot of bots and a lot of AI sort of stuff on social media. So I definitely believe some of that.
Did you see the like the biggest problem or the biggest part of that conspiracy theory, Dan?
No, what would that be?
It's basically that the bots are in place. Some argument is that the bots are in place to manipulate human opinions.
Oh yeah,
that too. Yeah,
Crazy.
no, yeah, I believe it, because I mean, there's a lot of like crazy articles, and they're either like it's either like they lean like super like right, or like super left, just to like up to we're at a point of like extremism where you're like, do people actually think this way? But it's just like AI shit made up by AI with just to pretty much put people against each other at that point, because then they just believe, a lot of people believe what they see, and then they believe that people that believe in those ideologies all believe or all think that way, when it's like a really extreme way of thinking or something. But yeah, I do believe that if it is real, that's probably the main, reason for it, is just to manipulate people's opinions and shit.
Yeah,
which is fucked up.
it is. Oh yeah, it's very messed up. But I mean,
goes back to MK Ultra.
Well, yeah,
just a different way of doing it.
Which is actually a really good segue into the next conspiracy theory that I'm bringing up, and that is the Earth is flat.
Oh, brother.
Like, and that's the thing, is like, we knew what. So back in was it BC or was it? I can't remember. It was after death.
No,
but
it was for sure. Yeah, it was like current era, I believe that that they finally conceded that the Earth was not flat, and that now that was before they figured out that the sun was the center of the universe or center of the solar system rather not that not the Earth. They were I'm pretty sure that they were still thinking that the Earth was the center of the universe.
yeah. But I mean, we found out pretty quickly that the Earth is round, right? Like that was something that happened when ships were sailing and they didn't fall off the edge of the Earth, right? And so I think that's what confused me with this conspiracy theory. If back in the day, when ships were sailing and discovering new lands, and ships returned, I mean, obviously ships got lost, and people were probably like, "What happened to that ship?" But
Off the Earth.
right, yeah. Then it's just weird that like all in today's age, that their arguments are, well, maps are flat. Well, when you take a picture of Earth from space, it's flat. Like pictures are flat. Yeah, duh, no kidding. I feel like this conspiracy theory alone has a ton of followers on this. There's a lot of people that believe this theory. Yes, it is a huge one.
It's so big and it goes so deep that there's so many followers of it. The thing I find the most funny about flat Earth theory is that for no matter what explanation you give them as to why the Earth isn't flat, they have a counter explanation for why that thing is the way it is. Almost any sort of okay, but what about views from space? Oh well, that's just like you haven't actually been up in a spaceship. You don't know what it really looks like. It was like, no, but they've taken photos of it. This is like, yeah, but those are photos. Those could be AI. Those could be generated. Those could be this. Those could be that. It's just like, okay. So how do you explain how ships don't fall off the edge of the earth, of whatever, and then we don't actually go to the other side and blah blah blah. And like, dude, every time that you have a counter, they have a counter. They have counters for your counter, and it's like, to some degree, you gotta admire the freaking tenacity because the audacity, I should say, of just how vehemently flat earthers believe in their conspiracy.
I don't know. It definitely blows my mind that people think that way these days. And I don't judge typically anybody because it's not in our, it's not in my right to judge or whatever. But the thing is, how? Just how? I mean, do you think that so basically the sun is flat and Mars and Jupiter and Mercury, it's all flat? Like when we take pictures of them, is the moon flat? Like, I don't know. It's that one definitely blows my mind. So
no, according to them, there are no real pictures of objects in space because it's all made to look like it's spherical, just like they make the pictures of the Earth spherical.
You're okay. Yeah, you're right there. That I guess that would be their argument back at us. But I just feel like, how come no one has actually seen the edge of Earth then, with all the traveling that things do? So what happens if if the Earth was flat, if a plane just flew left the entire time, is it like one of those video games where you just show right back up on the right hand side and keep flying?
Respawn.
Yeah, like you just spawn on the right hand side. So, how would that work? And you can't tell me that everyone's like, we just haven't flown to the edge yet. So that was, yeah, I think I would judge somebody if they actually told me they were a flat earther. I don't know. Maybe
it's hard not to.
It really, yeah, man, I know I don't like to be like that, but Well, I don't even know what else to say about it. Like, again, you said it. It's a popular one, Dan, and it really is. It's very popular, and there are people that defend it, like you said, Nico, defend it till that's a hill they would die on, basically, right? That
Oh yeah.
you're coming up there with facts, and they don't care about your facts. They know that it's flat. I mean, Dan, you and I were just talking about this before it started with the guy that was proving that the Earth was flat by using 2 walls and 2 holes with a beam of light shining through it. And later on, the light was shifted, which he basically proved himself wrong, right?
Yeah.
But then tried to explain his way out of that. So, I don't know. So I just came across this one on my little research station here. This one's a little interesting. It's a quick one because there's not a lot of information on it. But so the theory is that Trump got shot in the ear to have Musk put a Neuralink in him.
What?
Yeah. There's very little information on it, so I'm sure it's just, someone being a keyboard warrior out there and, typing stuff, but it has a little bit of ground. There's a lot of people that think because, Musk is part of the whatever he's part of, that this could be this could be a theory that he was shot on purpose at a rally to have Musk put a Neuralink inside Trump after he was, and the thing is, it's hard to believe because not like Trump had a hole in his head. He just had whatever.
That's his ear.
Cutting his ear. So, but there's what we were talking about earlier is like you start something and it gets a snowball effect, right? Some guy or AI at this point, like you brought up dead internet theory, Dan, could have been an AI started this theory, and somehow it's gaining ground, or not gaining ground, but it has a lot of people commenting on like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. That's totally true. That's what it is because Musk and Trump are together and blah, blah. Crazy, right? But, so let's talk about the Denver airport, shall we?
Oh, fuck.
So, the Denver airport is what? It's rumored to be it's rumored to be the Illuminati headquarters because of all the tunnels and bunker and stuff that's found. It was built on top of a safe house, basically, right? Yeah. But nobody knew that for a long time, and the murals over there show warriors or fighters with gas masks on fighting on what looks to be U.S. soil. So a lot of people theorize that those murals are telling a story of our future. And that's like the Illuminati has put that in place for that. But I think the main reason it's a conspiracy theory is because of the bunkers and tunnels and everything underneath the airport. I think that's the big push for that. Why does a bunker need to be underneath an airport? Like, what's the reason for that? What do you guys know about that? Do you guys know anything about that?
I know a little bit of the tunnels and stuff that was built over that safe house thing, and then the Illuminati stuff where they said it's run by lizard people.
Mm-hmm.
Or that the runways were set up to form some type of hate symbol, and then the giant horse statue that looks creepy shit. And that didn't somebody die either building the airport or multiple people died building the airport or building the statue
building
or something?
The horse, building the horse statue. I think the original creator died while it was still under construction or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's
what is the
creepy looking horse?
Have you seen the horse statue, Nico?
Yeah, I have because I've been to Denver.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I can't remember what his name is. I keep wanting to say
Lucifer.
Blue.
Blue, yeah, because he's blue.
Okay, that's
why would they name it that? Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
So I know that people believe that horse is cursed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think it says it's its actual name is Mustang, but people called it Lucifer after it killed its creator.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, so you basically hit a lot of that on the head, right? So if you look at a sky view of the runways at the Denver airport, if you like kind of cut out all the buildings and put your attention to the middle, it does look like they made it to look like a swastika. It's almost undeniable. It's got all of the angles, and it's very strange. I mean, it's obviously skewed in a way where it's not, because right, like you're looking at it now. It's like if you look at that quickly, you can see that it looks like a swastika, right? But and then you start looking at it more closely, and it's there, but it's not exactly like close to that. But it's suspiciously close anyway. So, but yeah. And then the capstone, which I believe is what was it? There's a time capsule underneath there. Or no, that's the mural that was painted, I believe. But to your point, Nico, they have the gargoyles and the demons sitting in suitcases throughout the what do you call it? Throughout the airport, right?
Yeah, those are creepy as shit.
Right? They also have the apocalyptic artwork.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these murals here.
They're messed up, right?
Creepy, yeah.
They're messed up. Yes.
Like, what's this one? The children of the world dream peace.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
What?
I'll be honest, when I went there, it was late at night, so I didn't even get to like look at any of the murals.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, like, people, I haven't been there personally, but like from what I've read online, people say like just even being there gives you like a weird, like really eerie feeling, and like constantly feeling like you're being watched, and they just say it's like really unsettling.
Yeah. Well, the children one is weird. I mean, I like at a quick glance, it looks like it's children of the world coming together, but it's just off-putting the way it looks, right?
Yeah.
It's
they're carrying like swords wrapped in flags of different countries.
I just don't understand. Like, you could have very well conveyed that message without the fucking soldier with the gas mask and gun.
That one too.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why does that need to be in there?
It's strange, right? Like, exactly. Why is that there? What is the purpose of that? I mean, it's cool. It's cool art. I'll give it that. But is that the place? Is like that the place for it?
I don't want to see that shit in an airport.
And doesn't it look strangely like there's like a third world country in the background, and it's almost Nazi regalia too? Like look at the hat, like, and the eagle on the hat. I mean, and it's stabbing a dove. The sword, like, what is that? What is it? What is it? And like, look at the background. Look at the background. The people are crying, and the one girl's child looks like it's dead. What is this painting? And why is it here?
Yeah, even the weapons and the uniform are really
exactly. Exactly. It's
trying to portray a specific army there.
Yep. And I believe is that the piece of paper on the Oh yeah, I just realized too, within the one with the children, the guy in the gas mask is laying on the ground too.
Yeah.
With doves on him. So I don't know if it's just I don't know. It's very strange. It's very, very strange. So the piece of paper on there reads, I was once a little child who longed for other worlds, but I am no more a child, for I have known fear. I have learned to hate. How tragic, then, is youth which lives within enemies, with gallows ropes, yet I still believe I only sleep today, that I'll wake up a child again and start to laugh and play. What?
Yeah, even that picture where he's laying down. I mean, look at the colors of the ribbons there. It's red, black, and
Mm-hmm.
really yellowish orange.
Yep.
Shit,
I
man.
don't know. It's definitely it's definitely a strange one. And I believe that it's a strange place in a strange place, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's why is this in the airport? What message is it sending? Like some of them have dead children in it. Some of them
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna say I see one with a dead child like in
Yeah.
a coffin.
yeah,
That's
it's
just-
strange. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that points to like that this being a like an Illuminati headquarters, but at the end of the day, I feel like this is very off-putting for where it's at, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Should be in a museum or something,
Right.
not in
If
an airport.
Because I feel like I would have a different opinion about it if this was in like an actual like museum with paintings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not in the airport. I don't know why, and I think that's what's the most off-putting about it or whatever. But it's yeah. But the biggest thing with all this is that those underground bunkers in the airport, like why, what are those for, right? That's where the biggest conspiracy theory of all this is that the lizard people somehow control things from underneath the Denver airport. And it's gained. I want to say that that's one of the more well-known conspiracy theories. I've never been to Denver, so I don't know like if that feeling of what do you call it, dread exists. But I mean, Nico, you said you were there. Did you feel any differently when you stepped into Denver airport?
I'm trying to think what time because we got there. It was pretty late in the evening, and it was really dead while we were there. There wasn't very many people there, and oddly enough, because I mean, like we got there. It was late at night, but it was still. I would say it was considerably early for being an airport. I don't know, but it was like it seemed dead. It seemed really dead, and it was a little eerie. It was a little creepy being in an airport that wasn't like bustling and busy, even for the time of night. You know what I mean? At least to some degree. You know what I'm saying? And it's something definitely did feel a little bit off. I didn't really think much of it just because I had had a few libations before the plane, and so like pretty much came into the airport a little groggy because I fell asleep on the plane and stuff. But there was definitely an odd feeling about it, I should say. So.
Yeah, and I did mention the capstone. That the capstone is like the what do you call it? Like the stone. I think it's on the outside of the airport. It usually like depicts who built it and whatnot. But the actual capstone reads. It has the Freemason symbol on it, and it says the time capsule beneath the stone contains messages and memorabilia to the people of Colorado in 2094. Wow. So there's theories that like what's actually going on in the airport are in there, but to expand on that as well, the capstone makes reference to New World Airport Commission. And if we know anything about that, the Illuminati is also referred to as the New World Order, right?
Yep.
So kind of hand in hand with that. This is one of the ones that I didn't do a lot of research into it, but I'm failing to see how like this could be a conspiracy theory. I feel like maybe this is mostly true. What if there are people underneath there controlling things? I don't know. But I would say for this one I'm 50-50. I don't know. There's a lot of things wrong in my opinion with this that it's Because I mean, think about it. Have you guys both been to like Midway and O'Hare?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get any sort of sense of anything when I'm walking through there. I feel like I'm at an airport. There's people, there's restaurants, there's seats,
Yeah, there's
there's
weird,
art.
no weird art.
There's no art that's off-putting. There's no gargoyles and demons in suitcases. There's no giant horse with red eyes. There's, as far as I know, there's no tunnels underneath either of our airports. But or maybe there is. I don't know. I actually don't know that, but it's not a bunker, right?
No.
All right, Nico, you got a third one for us?
Let's see. Ba, ba, ba. Oh man, hold on one second. I did have something in my head, and I lost it.
Uh-oh.
I want to say, what was it? So, excuse me. We kind of touched on it a little bit when you were talking about the whole thing with Wayfarer, right? So that theory was out there, or that conspiracy was out there, with a lot of different theories that all had to do with pedophilia and like a pedophile ring, supposedly.
Mhm.
So things like Pizzagate was a huge thing. About how Hollywood is, every like big name in Hollywood are all part of some big huge pedophile ring in order to get adrenochrome from frightened children. There's that, and then the whole thing with like Epstein's Island and how Epstein didn't commit suicide in jail, that he supposedly was very high connected and knew too much, and that he was ultimately killed in prison before he could go to trial and start naming names.
I don't know much about that. You'll have to enlighten me on that one.
What about Epstein?
Pizzagate, Epstein. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, I do
Pizzagate?
know a little bit, but
Pizzagate is this thing. It has to do with there's some pizza place, and I want to say it's in California. Maybe it's not. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I did the because they had a docu-series on Netflix that
I'll
kind
check
of
it out.
tied this together. But like there was a pizza store owner who the idea was that he held birthday parties at the pizza place. But then there were like children that started coming up missing after these birthday parties and stuff like that. And supposedly he had a basement, like a secret basement that he would freaking hoard them all in, and then eventually he was trafficking them to someone. I don't know who, or I can't remember. Again, the details are a little fuzzy on it. I didn't do much research on it, but this isn't really one that I was wanting to talk about. But it's just like it popped into my head, so that's why I started talking about it. But it's like, I don't know, dude. Like that one's really weird to me. Because and I don't who this guy is. I don't know. I don't know what made him so significant enough to for this to be like a huge conspiracy theory. But it's been, I mean, like it was famous enough to warrant like a big huge scandal, the whole thing supposedly. So I don't know. It's a really strange one, that's for sure.
Oof.
And then and then obviously, like with him supposedly being connected to like child trafficking, that kind of seems to like connect him to like Jeffrey Epstein, or even just to connect him to the whole scandal of, you know, like higher ups, like CEOs and other higher ups, and like actors and actresses, stuff like that, musicians and politicians, all being connected in Hollywood, and how they all freaking like supposedly freaking traffic children in order to like drink their blood. So like,
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, I remember
like,
the adrenochrome stuff was
right.
getting pretty
That's like
popular
a huge
back
thing.
then. Yeah.
People still talk about it. Like people still think that it's a thing, that like, you know, that Hollywood is Hollywood's this fake place that all exists because of pedophiles wanting to, you know, rob children and fucking yeah, basically fucking kill kids in order to drink their blood to stay young.
Yeah, shit's crazy.
Dang, that got dark.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring down the room there. I got stuck for one that I had in my head, and that was one that's been in my head for a long time. So
No, yeah, I mean it's definitely it's definitely a good conspiracy theory. So I mean, so was that actually happening then? I'm feeling like, or is that a?
it's again, it's a conspiracy theory. Like the adrenochrome thing is all like, it's all a big huge conspiracy. As to like why there was a sudden uptick in like human trafficking, child trafficking specifically. Why there's been such an uptick in like in exposure of uh for lack of for pedophiles and pedophilia and stuff like that. Why there's been such an uptick in like the exposure of it. And then ultimately, like why the whole thing with Jeffrey Epstein came to a head was because he was known, not like quote unquote, for having an island full of children, basically. So, like that all sort of kind of, again, that all kind of came to a head at the with that, and like with the conspiracy surrounding him, and of ultimately him getting arrested, placed in prison, and then ultimately quote unquote killing himself.
No. Well, that okay. I knew a little bit about Epstein, but I was saying like, so with this that pizza restaurant, did he actually have kids in the basement there, or was that part of the?
There's no basement.
Oh, there's no basement. Okay, I see.
And a lot of people were yeah. Sorry, I meant to say that. It was like a lot of people were saying like he covered it up, like by like basically essentially freaking cementing down a new floor in order to cover up the entrance to it or something like that.
I see.
I don't know, but like, and I don't remember much about him other than like he was a pizza store owner, and supposedly he had ties to human trafficking, specifically child human trafficking.
Gotcha. Okay. I
And
got
that the way he was doing it was by storing them in some basement that no longer exists.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know too much about that one. That's oof, yikes.
Yeah, that one's wild. That one's pretty nuts.
Yeah. Wow. Dan, you got a third one?
Yeah, I got a bit of one that isn't as dark. But you guys remember in the 80s when they came out with new Coca-Cola?
Oh boy.
Have you guys heard of that one?
I didn't know the conspiracy behind it.
All right. Well,
I didn't know there was a conspiracy. I see it popped up on this page, but like I didn't like read into it too much. But yeah,
no, yeah, I think
Well, okay.
they poke fun into it, like with in a bunch of like TV show, like with Stranger Things and stuff. But supposedly, like in the 1980s, Coke ended up changing their Coca-Cola Classic recipe, and they called it New Coke. So they got rid of the Classic, and then they brought out New Coke, and people absolutely hated it. And there's like a huge thing to get Coke Classic back, and I think after a few months, like it was a complete fail, and like everybody wanted Classic back, and then they brought Classic back, and then they got rid of the quote unquote New Coke. And the conspiracy theory behind that is that they did that on purpose to take away Classic, so people would kind of forget what it tastes like, and then so that way they could take out, I think it was when they got rid of the cocoa leaves in there and replaced it with something else, and then that way when it came back, people didn't remember the taste exactly, but it tasted similar enough to Coke Classic. So that they said that Coca-Cola knew that New Coke was going to be a flop, but they did it on purpose to get Classic off the market for long enough for them to not be able to tell that the taste changed when they replaced some of the ingredients. And like another thing is they probably did that to either change like some of the ingredients with cheaper ingredients, and then it wouldn't affect the taste as much as if they changed it right away and people still remember like the actual taste of it. But yeah, that's a little one there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little funny one.
I mean, I definitely remember New Coke being a thing because every now and then it comes up, but
yeah, people hated it. It said it tasted like Pepsi.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, people hated it. But yeah, they say that Coke did it on purpose. They knew it was going to be a fail, but they just had to get all the Classic off the market so they could change the recipe, and then that way people wouldn't notice it changed when it came back because they were used to the shitty New Coke that they put out.
See, I always thought the story I heard. Well, I guess that's technically a conspiracy theory, but I thought the real thing was that Pepsi started to gain ground, so they wanted to innovate their cola, and they did Coke too. And people hated the new taste because it did taste like Pepsi, and people realized it tastes like Pepsi, and then they brought Coke back, and that's when they took off again past Pepsi.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's what I think. That's the official story, is that they were threatened by Pepsi's like rise in popularity and stuff, and their numbers going up. So I think they made it like sweeter or something. So it's really similar. It was more similar to Pepsi. But yeah, people were saying like, oh, that's when the conspiracy came up that they took it off the market in order to change something in the recipe, so that people wouldn't be able to notice. So I think it was either that they were changing from they were getting rid of like the cocoa leaves or whatever they used to use, or that they were just using cheaper ingredients or whatever.
I would believe both of those stories.
Yeah, I was like either one.
Yeah. I would totally believe both of those stories. And I see a quote here by it says Coca-Cola President Donald Keogh, I don't know, said rebutted this charge. He said the truth is we're not that dumb and we're not that smart.
That's a perfect response for that.
Literally, it's just like, we're not dumb enough to fucking do something like that, or we're not dumb enough to do something like that, but we're also not smart enough to freaking to tank our own business in order to freaking get people to come back to it. Like, interesting.
Oh man, that's a good one. I didn't know that. Where are we looking on? How are we looking on beers?
I'm just about done.
I'm done. Yeah. All right. Well, then I'm gonna bring up one more, And so I'm going to give a little bit of a preface to this one. And I know there might be some shifty eyes and some comments made or whatever. However, so I believe what I believe, and though this is a conspiracy theory, and I know we're having fun talking about this stuff, but I did a lot of research on this one, and boy, oh boy, I'm putting this out on the internet for everyone to hear.
Oh,
I've gone back and forth on this a lot of times. I really have. But all right, so the moon landing.
oh,
Yeah. Obviously, it's a thing that happened. And there's an insane this almost goes as deep as the Kennedy assassinations, right? There's a lot of information and misinformation and all this stuff about the moon landing specifically. So I want to start out by saying that though I believe it happened, I don't believe it happened when we said it happened. And there's a lot of reasons why I believe that. I don't believe that. Okay, so first of all, let's just start talking generally about the moon landing, right? So, if you guys know, back in that was during the Cold War, right? With the USSR and Russia actually was the first country to launch something into space, right?
right.
Or they got a rocket off the ground first, I should say, which is what constituted the space race, right? It was the USSR versus America, and we failed way more times than the Russians did. And there was general unrest throughout the entire country, the public, right? They were. Was it civil unrest? Like they were unhappy with a lot of things that the country was doing at the time. There were riots. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Kennedy had just gotten assassinated, so this ties in a little bit to that. But so Russia gets the first rocket off the ground into space, whatever it was, and we failed, right? So, then all of a sudden, we build a rocket, we get 4 astronauts, we shoot them into space, and they land on the moon. From failure to success within months, right? It's just that's like the first thing. It's just like it blows my mind because we're talking about rockets exploding on the ground, rockets going up and coming straight back down, and then someone turned the screw the right way, and somehow we got astronauts on the moon. Okay, so I'm going to reiterate this again. I believe we got there. I don't believe we got there when we say we got there. America needed a win at the time because Russia was outpacing them. We were technically losing the Cold War, all that kind of stuff, right? So what I think...
Were we still in Vietnam at the time, too?
We might have been, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. There was Nam going on, too. So, yeah, there was a
also
lot of anti-war protests and stuff like that going on. So, like I said, civil unrest. Kennedy got assassinated. There's stuff going on in Nam and stuff like that. So, we needed a win. So, what better way to win than to send astronauts to the moon, right? Maybe. So, what I believe happened is that if we lost the space race to the USSR, America would have revolted against their government, right? We would have lost to Russia, and it would have been bad for us. So they staged it. They were in a warehouse, they staged the moon landing, and there are things that I believe and things that I don't believe. So And because the whole thing was is that it was broadcast from space to the space centers, but they would not allow the news outlets to broadcast this at all. The broadcasting that people saw at home was a videotape of the landing off of the screens at the space station. Why? What's the point of that? Why couldn't it have been a live broadcast? It was live, but why would they make the media go to the space station, wherever it's being broadcast, and record the TV that it was happening on? Why wasn't it live broadcast to everybody? Now, the argument is that, technology back then, they couldn't live broadcast to everybody. Baloney.
They live broadcasted from space to
right
the center.
So
right, yeah.
Right, exactly. So I believe that it was done in a warehouse. And I believe that they doubled down on NASA getting a ship prepared to go to space. Because if you think about it, once we landed on the moon, I'm pretty sure Russia gave up. We beat them, and they kind of took a step back from the space program, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually we got there, right? But here's the other thing too. Do you guys know there's a belt around, I can't remember how far out from Earth that it is. It's something radiation belt. And it surrounds all of Earth. And it's out there. That rocket had to pass through that to get to the moon. Right? And they didn't have they had spacesuits. They didn't have radiation suits on in the rocket. And there was somehow, and I'm talking about, it is heavy radiation, right? You saw what happened to Chernobyl, and they're flying through something. You're flying a rocket through a belt of radiation of similar potency, and nothing happened to these guys. That's hard to believe to me, that's hard to believe at the stage of where we were with technology. But not only that, we got them on the moon. We broadcast it to the space stations. A lot of people said the flag was the all-telling sign of an all-telling sign of that it was staged. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe that, because obviously, gravity works different everywhere, and I know that they put a bar up on the flag to make it look like it was flapping in the wind, so that's debunked, right? And one of the things, I don't know if you've ever seen, not that you guys would have been interested in before this conversation, but there was a interview done with Buzz and Armstrong and the other two astronauts that went up there that I can't remember their names. And one of the reporters asked them, well, what did the stars look like from the moon? And all four of them stopped, and they just kind of stared off. And either Buzz Aldrin or Neil Armstrong said, I don't remember seeing stars from the moon. What?
That's hilarious. Because I think I saw in some of the pictures too that point out that there's no stars in the sky.
And you're correct. And I understand that overexposure, or not even overexposure, but the camera technology back then, and the way it was broadcast, we maybe have not seen them, or pictures don't catch them, but also pictures today catch stars in on the picture, right? And if you're on the moon, would you not look out across you're somewhere, you're the first man on the moon,
you'd want to experience that and just kind of be
right?
You would just want to, you would want to take advantage of just everything. I'd be looking around. I'd be fucking captivated by all that shit.
You would soak it in. You would have an answer to that question. Not, I don't remember there being stars up there. That's weird. And the fact that Buzz, he always got very upset when people he would fight people when they called it a hoax. He was he was hiding something. He gets overly angry. Instead of just walking away from the situation, he got mad. He had something to prove or whatever. But Also, some of the angles of shadows, where the sun would have been positioned. So, like you think of the moon has a little atmosphere, and like obviously the sun reacts differently on the moon than it would on Earth. Well, if you look at some of the pictures that were like original pictures that were sent from the first moon landing, some of the shadows cross each other, and that doesn't make sense. If you think about it, the only way a shadow would cross if there was two sources of light. And people argue that, well, the source of light would come from the ship that landed, blah blah blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the case. Some of them have the actual ship in the picture, and the shadows are crossed. How does that happen?
Spotlight.
Yeah, it's strange. So, also, in a video that I've watched and things that I've read. Now, I'm gonna plant the seed once again. We're talking about the first men, whatever, on the moon, right? That is the first scientific technology or not technology, sorry, breakthrough that they had in a long time for space, right?
Yep.
So there was someone that's doing an independent film on the moon or something, and he went and got an interview with somebody from NASA. And when he asked to view the tapes of the first moon landing with Buzz and Armstrong, the response he got, and I'm quoting this from the video that I watched, they don't exist anymore. We've thrown them away or recorded over them.
No. What?
Why would you record over that?
What in what world?
This
in
huge,
what world would you do
amazing
that?
feat.
That would be like that would be freaking A, scientific evidence for one, and then B, freaking like that should exist in the Library of Congress.
Yeah, it should be in a fucking museum.
They don't exist,
Right?
gentlemen.
That makes no sense. That's insane.
The guy that they interviewed was quoted saying that we've recorded over them or we've thrown them away. They physically don't exist.
That's insane.
Why? Right? Like, okay, why?
That makes
Yeah, well, exactly, right? Which leads to more evidence of it being staged. And there's a few other things that I'm forgetting now because I'm talking about this. It was the Van Allen radiation belt. I think that's the name of it. But what else was there? There's a few other things that I really, really want to tell you because it's very compelling. Oh man. Blah blah blah. Oof. I can't remember.
How about the I'm seeing here that they use this specific type of camera, and it had they were each equipped with an optics glass that had gone over the lens, and it had a crosshair on it. But in some of the pictures, you could see the crosshair behind the object they're taking a picture of.
Yes, that's another one that comes
that's
up.
Pretty, yeah, that's pretty damning.
There's also one that ties into the director of what's the name of that movie?
Are you talking about Stanley Kubrick?
Yes, thank you. Yes, exactly that.
He did The Shining.
He did the what? The Shining. That's
in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
but he tied something into The Shining too. If I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was. There's a couple of signs and symbols or whatever supposedly in The Shining to say that he's the one who did it. So like, Danny, the little boy with The Shining, he has he's wearing a shirt or a sweater with I think it's an Apollo 13 freaking rocket on it. There's certain symbols in the hotel that are supposed to point to it as well. I
Yeah,
can't remember.
that he staged it for them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
movie masterful.
One of the other ones that I remember is that there's a video that was broadcasted to us, and you can go look at it online. I think you can find it. But when they broadcasted it, there were already footprints on the moon after or before Neil Armstrong stepped foot on the moon. You can see footprints around where they were getting off of the spaceship, and they didn't match the boots that the suits were. So it's like, well, what was that? And people said that they had to get out to set up the camera. And it's like, did they? Because they pretty much recorded the landing from the ship. So no,
Right.
no, absolutely not. But yeah, there's a few other things that I can't really remember off the top of my head. But the radiation belt, the crossing of the shadows, was it like that one? I understand the flag because you can actually see them put an extra bar in the flag to make it look like it's flapping in the wind. So like, that one's definitely like, okay, I get it. They want the American flag to look like it's flying on the moon, so that's what that is. But like, and the crosshair one, that was another big one that you brought that up. That they like imposed it on or behind the objects, right? It's crazy. So I'm gonna backpedal a little bit. So what I think happened is we faked this landing. Okay, we faked this to beat out Russia. Russia gave up. That left us unchallenged to get up there. So I believe within the next couple of years, we actually did send, and maybe we did send Buzz and Neil up there just to say that they were there. But the other thing that strikes me as odd. So yes, I do believe we were there. I believe we got there way later than we said we did. But the other thing that strikes me as odd is that why haven't we gone back? I mean, you're talking about we went up there, what? I think it was a total of 5 times. We collected rocks. We did all this stuff. And you're telling me by going up to the moon 5 times, we know everything there is to know about the moon. There's no reason to go explore the moon at all whatsoever. I don't believe that. It's just weird. I mean, yeah, sure, it's a space rock. I get it. But still. Why aren't we digging into it? Like, why aren't we going to, crack into the moon? What's in the center of the moon? What's on there? It's just weird.
Yeah, because I mean, we do a lot of space explorations, but haven't gone back to the moon. Because isn't there a rocket out there right now that supposedly had lost signal or something with astronauts in it? If I remember correctly.
There might be.
I forgot. They lost connection with them, but I think they got it back. But they're out there for longer than they should have been. But I mean, yeah, they've done a lot of rocket launches, but they haven't gone back there for some odd reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think going back to the moon landing, I saw that for the lunar modules that they had made no blast craters, or there were no signs of the dirt scattering from where they landed too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, and for the time, it's a nice fake, but now you can obviously see a lot of these clips from it are just, there's no way.
It's definitely strange, right? It's definitely strange. The last thing I will say, and this is a newer theory about the moon landing, is that the truthers, as they call them, they'll tell you that you can see where because we left part of the landing gear on the moon after they took back off, right? And where you're supposed to look and where they tell you they landed is completely where the actual landing gear is. So we know we've been there, right?
Yeah.
Where the actual landing stuff is nowhere near where they said they landed at the first point in time. And it's hard to. That's one's harder because like that's just based on like that's word to mouth. Like you know what I mean. But that's this is a conspiracy theory that I have poured months of research in. I've watched videos, I've read articles, and you know the grandiose scheme of things is that the government wants to keep it under wraps. Like they don't want anyone to know that we didn't go there when we said we went there just because. But this is like one of those secrets that the government is protecting. Again, I believe we did go there. I just don't believe we went when we said we went. It just doesn't make sense. But I'm not the type of person that's gonna, crap on you because you really believe we went to the moon when we say we did. It is what it is. It's just a theory. So, but yeah, that's how do you guys feel about that?
No, yeah, I believe that for sure. Because just looking through some of these screen grabs of these of the video, like it's just like you could obviously see how you're talking about like the spotlighting or like the two sources of lights where it's like it just doesn't make sense. And then like the environment stuff, like you could see like around the lunar modules and where the ship supposedly had landed, like the ground isn't disturbed. It looks like it was just placed there. And then yeah, no stars is super weird. And then yeah, no, I don't think we went like you said. I think we needed a win, and at the end it worked out for us. But yeah, I don't think we went that early, especially going from failure after failure after failure to success right away. It's crazy.
It is. Nico, what do you think?
I see some merit in what you're saying. I'll be honest. There's I don't. I'm trying to think of how I want to word this. I'm just trying to think of like what you're saying makes a lot of sense as to why we would fake the moon landing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why we would fake it? Why, given the over abundance of like failures that were happening at that time, and everything to that nature. And then yeah, it would make sense that like, hey, we got this win. Nobody. But I mean, is that true that Russia just completely stopped trying to go to outer space after like we made it to the moon?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
because they didn't make it out till when, like 10 years after we supposedly did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, that gives us another decade of time to just like quote unquote perfect the technology in order to actually get there and shit. So I mean, I guess that makes some sense. I would want to say then what's the whole point of keeping it hush now that if it was faked, like what good does it do?
They don't want us to distrust the government.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Nobody doesn't trust. The whole thing is nobody trusts them as it is now.
They don't want to distrust them anymore.
I guess, but then I guess at the same time, then there's always an asterisk to who really got to the moon first, right?
That's true.
But or when we got to the moon first.
It's one of those things where like it's a well guarded secret because of what it might do to the American people, I guess.
Yeah, it's more like a pride thing, probably.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the government isn't exactly forthcoming with a lot of things, right? I mean,
Right.
if you want to touch on like another conspiracy theory, real quick, during World War II, apparently, as people say online, I don't know how true this is, but it's gained traction. They knew the Japanese were coming for the ships, and they didn't do anything about it to give them a reason to enter the war. Right?
This is something I've heard a lot. I've
Yes.
actually heard quite a bit.
So But you're talking about sacrificing people. And if that's true, like, obviously the government's not going to want that to get out either, right?
Yeah.
So they have the thing is they have their secret. So this would be a very close guarded secret that we lied in during that point in time to win over the American people again. So that's why they would lie about it. It's, like Dan said, a pride thing, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I wonder if there is if there is a time limit on things like these. Like, if after, say, 100 years, the people who were all involved no longer are living, and the people who it would affect, like, on that level, are no longer living, would it make sense to come out and tell the truth about something like that?
If evidence isn't destroyed.
yeah. Well, and you said it. So that's what how I was gonna kind of end the talk about the moon. But you said it the best right there. To fake the moon landing, and this is the one thing that like really like makes me think that we did go there. You gotta kind of keep a lot of people hush hush about it, right? And maybe money talks. But if you think about it, the amount of people that were involved in that, everyone, like, that means that no one could have opened their mouth this entire time. Or
Right.
you can look at shoe on the other foot here, like and this is why I bounced back and forth. The whole reason that this conspiracy theory did surface was because someone did open their mouth, but they opened their mouth in a way where, it kind of came out as a what if, like, oh, what if the moon landing was fake because of this reason? And then it just gained traction, got that snowball effect. And now, today I'm sitting here talking about it on a podcast, right?
Mm.
So, but yeah, that's, I think, the biggest thing in all of this is you got to kind of keep a lot of people quiet. And that's hard to do. That's really hard to do. It's hard to keep 3 people quiet, right? Like, if you're in a small room, it's like, oh, this is just between us, and somehow that still gets out. You're talking about a scale way larger than that. So, but I don't know. It's if you look at everything that I've presented, and I'm not, and Nico, you can tell me right now that you definitely believe we went there. I'm not gonna, it's just a silly conspiracy theory. I don't care, right?
No, that's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if this is a conspiracy, like, if it is or if it isn't, like, say it is, I just want to know, like, how long would it take for enough of the original people who gave a shit about keeping it quiet to die off before somebody finally came out and was just like, hey, here's the proof as to how this was all fake. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what like, what's that date? What is that end goal? You know what I mean? If that's even the case, obviously it probably wouldn't, because it's like, again, it'd be a matter of national pride for a lot of people, or the families who would still be affected by it, could still be affected by it, even 2 generations from now, because it's something that's so historical that, like, Buzz Aldrin's great grandchildren are still, kind of living off the backs of what he and his team did, for history, for the nation and stuff like that, like, to hear otherwise would be not only devastating probably for a nation, but, completely devastating for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So I did some poking around on the internet, and the space race abruptly ended after the U.S. landed on the moon.
Oh wow!
So yeah, they were like, nope. So
that's so nuts to me, though, dude. Because then it's just like, so, like, you're that defeated that somebody else got to space before you, that you just said, fuck it, we're gonna stop. all the money that we've been pumping into it
Mhm.
for decades on ends now, all just ends now because somebody else freaking beat us to it. Instead of like, all right, well, fuck them. If they got to the moon first, we're gonna be the first to get to fucking Mars, or we're gonna be the first to drive out, fly out past the moon.
Actually,
Like-
that was the thing. They were going to try to go to Mars, and they deemed it too dangerous.
I mean, it would take fucking months on end just to get there. Not to mention the fact that there's no telling what sort of. I digress. Anyways, like, just anyway, like, and they were the first to get a satellite out into outer space. Like,
They actually, I want to correct myself, not to cut you off. They actually landed the first man-made object on the moon before we did. That's where this whole thing stemmed from. Russia got it there first.
but it wasn't. It was man-made, but it wasn't manned, right?
Correct. It wasn't manned. It was just man-made, and it landed on the moon. So,
But like,
What?
they got all that. Like, they made all this progress, and we're beating the other powerful nation in the world in so many areas and shit. And then one freaking thing, and then they just fucking quit
Mhm.
for a decade. Like, that's
Mhm.
that's so strange and weird to me.
all
Now
the
that-
more reason to
is
fake it
focused.
for us, though, right?
Well, right. All the more reason for it to be like an actual fake and stuff. Like
Mhm.
the fact that it shut them down so hard
Mhm.
is insane. Somebody had to have known something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Somebody had to have known, like, hey, if we end up being the first ones there, they said that they were done, that they were gonna stop freaking funding the CCCP or whatever, and freaking like that. I don't know. It's insane to me. And then just in order to freaking shut Russia down and to get a win on our side, they were like, all right, let's just fucking Stanley Kubrick, come over here. Let's
Mhm.
work something out. That's fucking nuts. That's nutso, dude.
It is crazy, isn't it? But, all right. Well, I think that's a good way to close the episode. So,
I think so too.
What? unless you guys got anything else to add,
Ooh, I got one more thing to add,
all right, add it.
and we'll close on this. We're industry plants, guys. See you later.
Jesus.
For Friday Night Shit Chat. I'm Nico. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
I'm Nick. Oh,
I'm Dan. Bye.
bye.
How long I've been waiting for this.